Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April meeting of the CB11's Executive Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott, and I am the Vice Chair of this committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:36 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Angel Muscane, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. CB11 members, no one may speak until they're at the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, please say present when your name is called.
Jose Altamirano. Present. Stephanie Arroyo. Odem Brija. Rosa Diaz.
Present.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
John Green.
Here.
Giselle Malave.
Here.
Nelsa Orama.
Michelle.
She's online. She called in. Claudia Paris. Asher Rodriguez.
We'll be late.
Xavier Santiago.
Exit.
Isaac Scott. Present. Jason Villanueva. Yeah, Clark.
Thank you. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. I mean, to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last meeting are adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. Are there any announcements? I think the only announcement we will make again that tomorrow, Friday, April 19th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., we're hosting the East Harlem 3rd Annual Earth Day Conference in partnership with the Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee and the Youth and Education Committee. We have 7 schools coming of kids. We have a full agenda of programming that's going to be really exciting. No screens, all outside. So we hope to see you all there. And thank you to everyone. It's been a huge effort, huge lift. So thank you to the team. Any other announcements? All right, we'll move along to our first item on the agenda, which is the request for a letter of support for La Fortaleza Community Development Corporation's application for fiscal year 2025 congressional grant funding for local community projects and senatorial fiscal year 2025 congressional directed spending. Is anyone from La Fortaleza here?
So no, that was an item that was voted on at the Economic Development Committee and is on the agenda to be ratified by exec, because it's trying to make a deadline of tomorrow.
Okay. Do I have a motion, or do you want to explain about what the?
Yes, so the goal is to, is to pretty much take, a real estate that's on 116. It has a long history of, culture, in El Barrio, and I believe the family is looking to sell the building, sell the space. And La Fortaleza wants to, obviously take it over, buy it, purchase it, and, put a social, cultural / kind of like night event space. The way he put it and organized it in a paper, it seemed very well thought out, and he will be coming to the committee, giving us, just updates, a little bit more like specifics, what he plans to put in there, like in terms of programming. But he's also long time standing East Harlem member, and he's, so we all agreed, we passed the motion, and
Great, and it's right now just for funding, not the actual execution of the project, great. Any questions for Giselle? Isaac?
Motion to support the committee's
There's
recommendation.
a motion seconded by Giselle. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? The motion carries.
This
Thank you
is Nilsa. Hello?
Hello, Nilsa.
I believe that if the Acacia Network is La Fortaleza or Hellgate Management, I have to abstain. I'm present, not voting, I should say.
Thank you very much, Nelson. With that, we'll move on to our second item on the agenda, the Casa Azul Group, Inc., doing business as Bistro Casa Azul. Renewal application for a full liquor license, number 1304236, for a restaurant located at 343 Pleasant Avenue, New York, 118th Street. I don't, so, yeah, there you go.
All right, I mean, there is no story, to be honest, they had 5 311s, I have no idea why the committee felt compelled to ask questions from a business that's been there for a number of years. 5 311s over 2 years is not a concern, but they wanted to ask some questions. What happened was the applicant was having a party and wasn't able to be there, so I put them at the back of the agenda. I like bumped them to give them time to come, but then we had a long contentious agenda and I totally forgot to go back to them.
No worries.
So I figured, you know, even though I don't agree with them having to be questioned about this, the committee wanted that, so I asked that they come tonight. But I'm saying I have no concern with them getting their renewal. If anybody wants to ask them questions, go ahead. I don't have any for them.
Okay, do we have anyone from Casa Azul on the phone?
When they should be here, but.
You gotta
Hi,
unmute,
can you hear-
Maria.
Can you hear me on the Zoom?
Yes.
Are we, you have video?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, we hear everything. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
having us tonight. We're happy to answer any questions. We know about 2 calls that were made over the last summer. One was at 5:30 in the afternoon, which I felt was, you know, I don't, maybe you have the times there of the other calls, but if you can see, one of them was done Friday afternoon at 5:30 or 5:45. And we play jazz. We're not playing rock and roll or house music loud. You know what I mean? So I actually got a call from somebody who didn't want to identify themselves, telling us that they worked the next morning. Again, this is 5:30 in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon, not even a night. But so that's one of them that I know about. There was another one that I know about. We were having our annual party, and somebody decided to treat us to music. We didn't ask them to play, but they came kind of as a gift, and they were very boisterous, and we had to tone them down. And that was about 9 o'clock at night in the backyard, which we recognize is kind of like a big sound box because of all the walls of all the buildings in the courtyard. So we toned that down right away. And I don't know if that's I don't even know if that's one of the incidences because no police came that day. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Are there any questions from the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve item. Second by Jose. All those in favor, aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Sorry, that's out of order. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Angel?
So there's an attendee with their hand up, with the telephone number start ending in 561. Not sure who that is. Is that a board member or someone else?
Can you identify yourself?
If you're talking, you're muted.
I know they're not.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to mute here. Good.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Adam. And thank you to, the Bistro Casa Azul team for coming tonight, and apologies for the mix up there.
problem.
The next item on the agenda is, a request for a letter of support for the renovation of the Taino Towers Community Courtyard and Plaza through the fiscal year 2025 community project funding request. And this is coming from housing.
No, this is this is coming from the folks at Taino Towers. It was forwarded to me by Xavier this afternoon. I don't believe anyone's on the phone from them. It's another one of these requests for a lot of support for an application that they're going to submit for grant funding. The same thing with the deadline of tomorrow. I think they're petitioning, congressmen, but yeah,
Okay, can we hold this until like Xavier gets here?
sure.
Okay, because I know there's been a number of requests for these kinds of funding. And we've held the line with some about our process in the community board, and we have not held the line with others, so I just wanna make sure that we're being fair. When we move forward in any direction here, so we'll wait for Xavier to come, describe, what is, what was the impetus for this, and we'll move along. The next item on the agenda is the 420 Cannabis Resource Fair, number 765090, street event. Location East 115th Street between Park Avenue and Madison Avenue, and it's a full street closer. The License and Permit Committee recommended that this application be denied. Can you give us a little description?
No documents, no one came.
So we can vote.
That's
a good enough reason.
And, at the time, I was told the application was pending with SAPO. I believe since it got approved, but, to be frank, an approval from SAPO doesn't change our policies, and in fact, if anything, it makes me kind of question the whole process that they're going ahead and approving things. I mean, I know how this all works, I do, but it makes sometimes the work feel a little pointless. That's a separate issue, but I think I said to add it back tonight, to actually give the applicant an opportunity if they wanted to submit documents and show up, which I don't know if they did or not. That's, I think, why it's on the agenda tonight.
Great. Isn't America Munoz or anyone from the Cannabis Resource Fair on the call today?
Any good.
Okay, and so do we know if any materials have been received, Angel?
All right, did you guys need me? Was there a question about Bistro Casa Azul?
No, no.
You don't have to say all of it.
You're good.
Go.
You're good.
We're okay? Okay, thanks, guys. When do you get off the call, okay?
Thank you. All right, since no one's on the call from the Cannabis Resource Fair, we have not received the documents. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to deny.
Did they submit the documents?
There's no documents. Jason has his hand up.
Jason, go ahead.
Just a recommendation for the item in the past from the chair, I would table it. And this item, I would send it back to committee.
Wait, send one back to committee.
Committee denied.
In this instance, we can't, the event is Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw a thumbs up, Jason. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a motion
Motion.
by Rosa?
Motion to
Second
deny.
by Adem, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. All right. The next item on the agenda is a request for board funding for East Harlem Law Day. Is that the Jason Wu item? Is Jason Wu on the line?
No, they have like that.
Is this another Xavier Rod?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna table it till he gets here. Yeah. I mean, circle these things so I don't forget. All right, the next item on the agenda is the discussion on remote meetings and compliance with open meeting law. So this was regarding the letter from, I believe, CB6, right, that had described a sort of response that we could take as it relates to open meetings law.
Can we do that last one?
Yeah, but we didn't
You voted.
vote on it, and I think we had discussed that we didn't want to just adopt blanket something from somebody else's community board without it coming from us.
It's about a hybrid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the hybrid.
so Angela, just to correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, we are returning, or there's no more disability sort of Option.
After June.
after June. Okay, so as of July, moving forward in perpetuity, we are required without question to be in person every meeting all the time. So we have an opportunity, I guess, to describe what, what we want. I don't even remember what the other letter is. Do we have it on, we can pull it up, Angel?
I have it in an email. I'll talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Okay. Well, I guess while we're waiting, what's your all's idea of a perfect situation? Cause in my mind, the idea of going to hybrid, or like allowing for virtual, it takes away like from our ability to have trust and community together. But it also allows for flexibility that makes our volunteer roles a lot easier, Adam.
I don't know, maybe like every member has a certain number of meetings that they could attend hybrid, but then there's a certain number they have to attend in person, because I just think if we go back to what we were doing during the pandemic, which we have a reason to do, most people probably won't show up, and I wouldn't blame them, right, for in person, I mean. So maybe we set something like that, like and we ask also to keep that option open, I think, for anyone with medical issues. I think medical issues don't go away for people after June, so I don't understand why that's going away. But that's just my opinion, maybe some kind of middle ground between what we're doing now and what we were doing before. And I think when you do something like that, you have a better chance of it going through than asking for everything to go back to hybrid meetings.
And to add on to what, Azam is saying, like, for us to conduct business, the essential thing we need is quorum. So if we can support getting, getting people to, getting committees to make quorum, then that allows us to help the community. If we don't have quorum, we can't conduct business. So I think anything to help that would.
Jose?
I thought that, committee meetings make a lot of sense going hybrid. It actually allowed us to have more community input, because a lot more people were able to join through Zoom than coming in person, and we still see that to this day, because we still have community coming in hybrid method. But I do think that full board should always be presented, like we should be in person for full board, so we could reach the. I thought that we should have a hybrid committee meetings and full board should be in person.
Okay. All right,
So I have a question. So maybe I read it wrong, because also community education councils are mandated to state public bodies, and we have to be in person no matter what, unless it's extraordinary that we cannot make it in person. So as of July 1st, everyone is in person no matter what, right? So right now, we're doing hybrid just because we want the public's input, not the members, not the public bodies. We have to be in person. That will all end July 1st. So what are we deciding now?
yeah, do you wanna jump in here?
So everything expires July,
Yes,
so it all goes away.
June 3rd.
Yeah, so all of
No.
this, the owl, we go back to the way it was pre-pandemic. What Alex Forrest's bill is trying to do is to give autonomy for each individual or public body to be able to say, we made our decision. If they pass this legislation, we could theoretically say, okay, well, I'm gonna do committees online and then full board in person. We could have that choice. CB1, because we just had borough board, this morning, and again, apologies for being late. They would want to be in person, period. They don't even want the option for people to dial, because they just want everyone there, to have everyone regardless of what the matter is, committee or task force. That is my understanding. So again, CB6 passed this resolution in support of. It is legislation. I think it's still in committee and in discussion. I think it may be held over past the budget.
Into a budget.
Yeah, so again, this is what we brought up and addressed last month. So ideally, it's for us to take a position, whatever that is, and it could be a letter of support of just the legislation. We don't have to necessarily draft anything in resolution form. It can just be, we are supportive of this legislation, and we can cite all the needs which we have already enshrined. And we can just reference them like when the letter goes out.
No, but and,
Yeah, sure.
has his hand up.
Okay, is that
Jason.
Jason and then, no,
Just for land use, as a matter of fact, we can't do anything online, to be honest with you. It's already a challenge to get developers to present online, let alone in person, and there's always questions and concerns from the district. Us being one of probably the driving force for the community board under the charter, I don't think it's practical necessarily, but I don't disagree with the DEM and some of the other recommendations, which ultimately brings us to, I think, the global conversation, Chair, and I recommend is for us to revisit our bylaws and would address some of these concerns with attendance as opposed to us being in person, because community engagement is not going to be online. There's a concern with artificial intelligence, avatars. I might not even be the person that you're looking at right now. I could be a machine, but it's up to you guys.
You look suspicious.
Okay, all right, so, Adem,
I guess my question is, if, let's say we write a letter of supporting this legislation, and then, you know, this gets passed and everything could theoretically go back to the way it was when the pandemic was happening, could we then kind of set our own parameters on that? So like, we're getting, say, the whole field right now, and then we can say, all right, we could do that, but we're gonna make our board have these certain requirements? Is that something we could do?
we could do, what we're really opining on, and I hear what you're saying, Jason, we're opining on here, if I'm reading this correctly in the interpretation. Not an attorney, just play one on TV. The reality is that we can set out with our own bylaws, just like we adjusted our bylaws to hold elections virtually, if you remember that. We made, adding by resolution. But in this particular instance, it's whether or not we would be able to determine, if it passes, we would be able to determine what we desire to do to the bottom. Make sense?
Yep.
Angel, is there anything else? No?
I think
Okay, sorry.
My understanding is we can't change anything in our bylaws without this bill passing.
Correct.
So when this bill passes, which we should honestly be in support of, then we can, it comes and then we have the ability to go to our bylaws and Jason, obviously being chair of his committee, says, I need my committee to be a person. Well, then that committee is a person and we can go committee by committee and have that conversation here in executive, but without this, without supporting this, there's nothing we can do, there's no change.
It'll probably be best to vote on this, on the support of this legislature and then to formalize how we want that to be.
Jason? Elsa, you recognized.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person. So I have been the beneficiary of this self-certification with doctor's notes submitted. Just a little bit, if you all could just refresh my memory. Is this legislation saying that I don't have it in front of me, my apologies, that they will prefer hybrid meetings, but there's some community boards, like I think one community board will not go back or don't want to go back. Is it that this legislation, if it passes, will allow each community board to decide how it's going to do its meetings, as opposed to the open meetings law, which said everyone pre-pandemic, you know, that all the meetings had to be attended in person? Because I'm a little confused with all the discussion points. So I was just wondering if someone could clarify.
So my understanding, what it says in the legislation, paragraph 3A, and it's line 5, the in-person participation requirements in this section shall not only apply to community boards in the city with a population of over 1 million, provided however that notwithstanding the requirements that are set forth in this section, such community boards shall not be required to maintain a physical location. So it goes on, that present, it would allow for us to be considered present for purposes of fulfilling the quorum requirements of such a public body. The meeting is conducted through video conference, so it gives us that exemption. But again, it's whether or not we would have to, so the first protocol is the passage of the law. The law then, if adopted and signed by the governor, taken up in the Senate, passed and signed into law by the governor, we would then have to amend our bylaws at that stage to fully take them on, or pass by resolution while we craft our bylaws to say we are going to do this moving forward. So those are our two options.
And
Does-
so, I'm sorry, and then, so to speak to what Jason said, the bylaws, if revised, could specify certain committees must be in person, even though the legislation allows for flexibility.
So Nilsa, I think in this particular instance, we're, it's a cart before the horse. Before we
Okay.
even bylaws, we're really just, we're talking about what might happen, but until this law is passed, it's kind of theoretical conversation at this point, and it's good that people are thinking that way. I think it's very healthy and helpful. The first protocol is whether or not we as a committee and as a full board will support this legislation. That legislation then passes, then we can have the conversation, the bylaws. So I think that's kind of where
Okay. Yeah, because that's why I was confused, because I thought it was for the legislation, but we were discussing different scenarios. So thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that.
Thank you, Nelson. Yeah, so this is just whether or not we want to support the legislation via, yes.
I'll make a motion to support it, it gives us the most options moving forward.
All those in favor?
Rosa.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? President,
Opposed.
whoever is opposed, the motion carries. All right, great.
Buttering.
Nelson, do you have Nelson, you have your hand up. Do you have another question?
No, I want to put it down. I'm just having problems with my phone.
Okay, so A was not done.
We did A, B, and D, we skipped C and E.
Okay, A, B, and D. All right. Okay. All right, so we've done F now. Let's go into the review of the draft agenda. And what we're gonna do is just for expediency, because we seem to do a really good job last month, just to be respectful of everyone's time, we're just gonna hit like a dry run of like what our committees talked about, just, your kind of with your kind of chair reports, just include
I
that.
have to go back to the years and the.
Yeah, so Steve and me will come back to, I gotta find out where the person is who made the request, so I just texted them, so do you mind
Yeah.
picking this off on full board agenda, I'm gonna find out where.
Okay, one. Right. You pull up my. I'm working on it, I'm sorry, y'all, give me 1 second to get my stuff open. All right, we'll go through our full board draft agenda, just to recap what we did at Environment, Open Space and Parks. Let's see. What did we do? Well, we had the Jackie Robinson Day Festival last Sunday, so thank you to Asher, Rosa, and Michelle for tabling there. We also had the ICANN Plaza and Discus Thrower unveiling at Randall's Island Park 2 days ago, which I attended. It was lovely. As I mentioned, the Earth Day conference is tomorrow. We have a new Manhattan Borough Commissioner for Parks, Trisha Shamara, just so everybody knows.
She was there.
Yeah, she was there. There was no updates from Randall Island on the HERC this month. Everything seems to be running smoothly. We had a presentation from Randall's Island Park Alliance on all the programming available at Randall's Island. So they presented about all their like 250 free community events, environmental education field trip programs, summer camps, free for CBOs. They have 3 major community festivals, one this Saturday, for Earth Day, one in July for Waterfront Festival, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of, SYEP, and, volunteering, opportunities available. We had a presentation on the Pier 107 Bobby Wagner Walk. It was a huge presentation. It was, comprehensive about, everything that's going on from 94th Street to 124th Street with the little gap that we know exists. From, I think it's 107th to 114th Street,
114 to 117.
114 to 1, that's it, 3 blocks? All right, so they were not asking for a letter of support or anything, they were just giving us an update on the project, but there were a lot of, community comments in support of the project, questions about the future phases and, the gap in funding. We made a motion for a letter of support, to, fund the, missing link there from 114th to 117th, so we make that change. And then we also provided a letter of support for, the East River Esplanade concept proposals from Civitas, which we heard last month. Malik gave us a wonderful presentation on the upcoming summer committee tours that he's been organizing for the community gardens.
That Malik?
That Malik.
Get out of here.
Park.
Cookies will.
Oh, no, one day more is cooking.
We made one final motion for, our Parks Committee funds to go towards the Earth Day conference tomorrow. Next month, we'll have IBO attending. So if you wanna know more about the sanitation garage stuff, please attend the meeting. And that's it. Sorry for the rambling. Who's next? On the,
Human services, the housing, yeah.
No, he went.
oh, sorry, I went.
Oh, skipped over.
That's
Housing.
Okay, but basically, what happened at the meeting is that, Wilfredo Lopez, showed us gave a presentation on the, housing and vacancies, survey for 2023. And also we had a discussion about, actually, create a resolution, concerning 421A and also when we also. And we also spoke about the budget because the thing is that it's something that we should do, that it was the idea was created in the youth and education meeting, that it should be discussed every month. And also with housing, we will be getting new members because I think two or three members of the committee resigned. So the thing is that instead of having people coming in and just saying, well, what's going on, we're gonna try to, if they get into the last 2 meetings of the month of the year before summer break, we can start acclimating them to, because we only have September and October to get our requests in. So we're going to say that's something that we're going to try to do before summer break. And that was basically what happened at the meeting this month.
Thank you. Human services?
So we had 2 presentations. One was a return presentation from Housing Works. Was regarding their Rand Harlan Center. They're relocating it from the Bailey House's main campus, which was on 1751 Park Ave, which is 120. Second, and they're relocating it around the corner on 145 East 125th Street. They came before us as suggested by Oasis. And yeah, we provided them a letter of support in that relocation. It was a relocation for the purposes of expansion. They have more services. The space they was in currently, they needed to expand to be able to provide more services. So I don't see that on this agenda. Is there?
No.
And
How's it works, right?
yes. No problem. And then we had a presentation from the Ralph Lauren Center's cancer screening program at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And since they're a local cancer center in East Harlem, they're gonna be coming and providing us with monthly updates for a little while, just to provide more education to folks in the community about cancer screening, stuff like that. So that's it. We're still working through reviewing our budget items. We're getting ahead of budget season now. Stuff like that.
I was gonna prompt you to talk about that a bit.
Oh.
Because Jennifer talked about that in another committee.
Yeah.
I thought it might be good for the other committees to.
Oh, so yeah, so I guess last year was probably like the worst experience for me because like you come right in with new members in September and then in October, you have to be writing in this really difficult way, these budget items on this confusing spreadsheet, and it was just a lot. So, part of it was, just wanting to ensure that the things we're advocating for at the Human Services Committee makes it onto our list of budget items. So rather than waiting until the last minute, I kept it on the agenda for old business. It's been on there since last budget season, and it's gonna stay on the probably as long as I'm the chair. Because it's just good to have it at the end. You know, we don't always like the last few months, we haven't been able to really dive deep, but as we know, we're getting closer. The time we spend in those in that time expands a little more. Especially the amount of time it takes us to get through our agenda provides us with an opportunity to spend more time discussing our budget items. So yeah, so just getting ahead of it, also explaining the process to newer members and what the cycle is so that they understand ahead of time, they can ask their questions and they can, you know, we can get past that. So when we're coming in, at the very least, we're probably just, you know, onboarding one member rather than like 3 or 4 of them, especially since our committee is rather new. So yeah.
Love that.
Thank you, good. Youth and Education, Asher is going to be late. So we can wait a little bit on back to public safety and transportation.
Michelle will. We had a good meeting. We were given an announcement by DOT that the city is now allowing e-cargo bikes for delivery as a delivery option. So you'll see more of these commercial bicycles, large commercial bicycles. We had a few questions regarding insurance and things of that nature, which we'll get some, because you know, now we're talking about a bicycle with a wagon behind it, and you know, I'm curious, like when one of those things hits your car, who's responsible?
Fast is so good today.
Go to jail or something, is that, no?
Yes.
No idea.
Oh,
Yes, if you look at the city, I hope they have answers, but anyhow. We had fun news from East River Plaza, the project on 117th Street. DOT was very happy to announce that they finally put up something that would separate the vehicles from the pedestrian lane, the new pedestrian lane. And then we supplied them with 6 pictures of drivers, their new barrier is this big, probably this tall. It's rubber, very easy on wheels. I probably have another 4 or 5 pictures here, so it's very ineffective. It did not stop the vehicles from going into the pedestrian lane. We actually, during the meeting, committee member passed us some letters, we sent them the pictures. And then their response was that this was a problem for, basically saying enforcement. This was a problem for enforcement, and I said, I disagree. Because the objective of this project was to make sure that whatever was installed there kept vehicles from entering into that pedestrian lane. So if it's entering, then whatever they installed failed. and it was a waste of our time. So our position will continue to be that, and, well, they're not really happy with that. We're gonna do walkthroughs, we did walkthroughs through the major intersections, now we're gonna do walkthroughs through the every other street between there. We also had a, gas and electric safety initiative, they came in, Con Edison, how not to get scammed, a lot of older people are getting scammed, we know it's not Con Edison, because they charge so much that they don't need to scam anymore. You know, they charge 100% on delivery from what you, like, they just don't need it, but a lot of elderly people are doing this, so we asked for things to come in, and then let's see what, we had Jordan Stockton from the District Attorney's Office on the proposed discovery reform changes in 2020. There was discovery reform changes that made it gave a lot of the burden to the District Attorney's Office and in a lot of cases, so you'll see that a lot of people are not being charged with things because, or if they even are charged, it says if they're missing, if one piece of paper isn't given in, they can use that as an excuse to throw the whole thing out, even if it is a serious violent offense. Which is very concerning considering that we have a big violence problem, the youth violence particularly, and weapons. And we'd like to see changes to that done. So that was very interesting and something that we hope to support. They've been trying to go up to the state and get these changes made, and we're going to see if we push that to our electeds. Because these are very common sense changes that will be beneficial to our community. We had a street renaming that we're kind of iffy about. And we were happy to make a motion for open streets applications. There's one on East 115th Street from Pleasant to First, East 123rd Street from Second to Third, and East 101st Street from Park to Lexington.
Thank you. Next up is going to be licensing agreements.
All right, I actually have a few things to say. One, we had, in September, we're gonna have two, well, we're not gonna have two, but we have two applicants for the same day, same time, same street, 116th between Second and Third. I believe they're both supposed to be festivals to celebrate, Mexican independence. We've been like pushing this off for a while because they're in September. We've been trying to get the applicants to sit with us, you know, outside of a meeting to try to come to a resolution. We haven't been able to do that, so I just kind of put them on the agenda to get them in the room and then ask them if they could come to a resolution. They weren't able to that night, so next week on the 24th, we're gonna have a meeting with them here. So not like a regular committee meeting, to see if a resolution can be reached, otherwise, you know, the committee's gonna have to take a position, if they can't give us some kind of way to approve them both, maybe different dates, or we've even suggested them maybe kind of co-hosting the event or whatever. Second thing was, and Ricardo's Steakhouse, we approved their renewal, but they had like 35 311s, so yeah, I know. So we're having them come back in 3 months if there's even one 311 call. So we're kind of, I guess, call it probationary, you know, I said we reserve our right to change our position on that in 3 months. They've been here a long time and everything, and, you know, we're not looking to shut anyone down. They were all for like loud music and talking. They've said they've taken certain measures to combat that. They took speakers out. The reason that it was a little weird was because at first they said they were unaware of the 311 calls, but then they said they took measures to help against the 311 calls. So like, I didn't know which one was it. Do you know about them or do you not know about them? And that kind of made me feel like, well, let's bring them back in 3 months. And then the last thing is, next month we will be voting on the, I guess, the dine out, the new rules with the sheds. So Angel was nice enough to craft, you know, a new stipulation form and questionnaire, very similar to like what we already have for liquor licenses, which is a similar approach to what we did for OCM, was kind of use the template we have and then just tailor it to fit the little nuances that are different about these things. We haven't had any applications for those yet, but we do have some in the pipeline, so that's why it's important for us to get that voted on. So the committee had the materials distributed to them, they were told to review them, come prepared next month with any edits, additions, whatever, I mean, I prefer if they send them to me before the meeting, and then we'll hopefully be able to vote on that next month. That's pretty much it.
Great, thank you very much. Next is Eco Dev and Culture.
Okay, during our meeting, this month, we passed a motion on we had two presentations, one from the Africa Center, Udo Lima came and he pretty much, showed us the next phase of, I guess, their renovation and fixing of the Africa Center. They were requesting funding. We approved, we sent them a letter of support, we approved the letter of support. We also had, like I said earlier, La Fortaleza come, I believe Felix Leo Campos. He gave us a history on La Casa Latina, what it was before, what it is now, what his plans are for the future of that space. And, you know, we were very pleased as a committee to give them a letter of support as well. And I think that was it. We also, so we plan next month to finalize our, hopefully like have a discussion and finalize our budget needs as a committee for 2026, 2025. Six. My hope is that, the work is done before June, so that the committee, can focus on, during the summer months, just helping to, whether it's to give out, the surveys, whether it's to, you know, tell people about, you know, the surveys to fill it out and stuff like that, just so that people can focus on that as opposed to getting the work done in September or during the summer. So let's see how that goes. That was everything.
Can I just voice appreciation for all the work going on and for budget? That's excellent, and I'm so happy to hear that people are getting ahead of it and other committees take notes, including my own.
It's good. It's good, it's great. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Is Jason and Isaac, thank you. Land use, is Jason,
Yeah, he's online.
okay, Jason?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Jessica, because she chaired for me, but I do wanna make, I have my hand up for since Isaac. And it's, you know, I got, again, a lot of you that have been on the board for a while, you know, my passion when it comes to the statement of district needs. And hearing what's going on, just through conversations with other board members, there's a big concern about the committee. And I just wanted to know what was if we were gonna, you know, it may not be a discussion for today, but it's something that we need to think about because the leadership of that committee is really important in us communicating and engaging with the administrative agencies, tracking the financial concerns of the district. One item that was brought up yesterday as it relates to the points of agreement, that commitments weren't fulfilled to date by the mayor's office and other city agencies when we did the rezoning. And there was even a stage that SDN got so involved in the advocacy efforts of requesting funding for our district that projects started coming back to life. And it allowed us even to further start dissecting items such as the points of agreement that seem to now be falling, you know, back as an example into land use, right? Or other committees that might be having some challenges, like I'm hearing from some chairs that have been a part of the process. And I need not say me and the previous assistant district manager worked religiously to develop not only policies, procedures, and processes for this. So I'm just taken back by hearing some of the stuff. I do agree with Jessica. I love that everybody's being proactive as a result for the policy changes that were made board-wide, but I am concerned with the activity of the committee as a whole. Because it's we're in April and I don't think I've even seen the chair since we've been meeting in December.
Thank you, Jason. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, just,
Land use?
oh, land use, yeah, okay, yeah, here's what. So on land use, thank you, Jason, and, you know, we're working on that and, agree. For the land use, landmarks and planning committee meeting yesterday, we had a presentation from EDC on the Harlem African Burial Ground project update. We thought there was no request for a letter of support or acknowledgement, but it was noted that we may, just for your knowledge, Jason, we may receive a request from Fernando. But I had also told him for another project from Parks that, we need to go through our process for these things. If they're, asking for letters of acknowledgement, it still requires a vote, needs to go through committee and then full board. So if we hear back from EDC, we can happily go through that process however we choose. But the Harlem African Burial Ground project is essentially, I guess, completing archaeological work. It's gonna be a long process, many years. I think right now they're looking for a cultural programmer or program operator, and they're gonna release an RFP later this year for that. And the idea is that they would get a cultural operator who is interested in being involved for the long term, because it's gonna take a couple years to do the RFP for the development, which will include the memorial site that's being preserved at the African Burial Grounds, the museum with the cultural operator that is going to be onboarded this year, and then the affordable housing component that will take up the rest of the site. So it's, like I said, many years out, but they're just giving us a project update for now. The second presentation was from our lovely planning fellow, Nina Farahanchi. Did I get that right? She presented on her work that she is formalizing into a report with the raw data, so that, we can really get into the weeds with it and use it as arsenal for the things that we need. Basically, a lot of the things that we know and have come up in discussion that she's analyzed when it comes to how many housing units do we have in the neighborhood, and how has that changed over the past, decade. While we've gained, close to 5,000 units, may not be correct on the numbers, but while we've gained somewhere around 5,000 units, a lot of those are studio apartments, and we're losing 4 and 5 bedroom apartments, which are really valuable to a community that has a lot of family needs. And we talked about AMI affordability, what we can do with the warehousing of lots and existing buildings in our neighborhood. What does that mean for NYCHA? Now that we have the City for Yes housing coming forward, all these things. So it was a really great report, and if you missed the meeting, I think it would be great for you to go back and take a look at the recording, or at least flip through her slides. And she'll be releasing a report later on, I don't know, over the summer.
I got one more thing on that, if you don't mind, Jess. Speaking of City of Yes, the housing committee, they're going for ULIP, and they're gonna start next month. I know the housing committee's had some challenges as of late. We need to be really on point, like we did with economic development and the carbon emissions. So if there's any assistance, conversations that need to happen, John, you have my number, Xavier, you have my number. We're really looking for a collaborative effort worldwide. Of course, land use is gonna drive it. We're gonna do the right thing, but we need our other committees to be on board proactively.
Thank you, Jason. The last item from land use last night was the presentation and a request for a letter of support to engage HPD about the disposition of city-owned property at 123rd Street and Park Avenue. This is with Project Find. They are bringing their own development funds to the table, as well as purchasing 2 lots adjacent from a private owner to create a housing development for seniors that unfortunately has mostly studio apartments, but their mission and their organizations about connecting seniors and providing resources and fighting isolation and other current concerns like that. So they have a really great approach. If you don't know about them, we'll be voting on that at our next land use meeting.
Great.
The end.
Thank you. Wonderful. Executive, we're in it. We're doing it right now. Now it's going to speak. We have, okay, good. Then we have new business. We have, number 25, which was Leon Restaurant Group LLC. That they were supposed to go to licensing permits, but the posting didn't get up in time. So try and make that just accommodate, if I understand it correctly, right? No, yeah. So.
And a letters of support.
And the letters of support, so they have all of that, and they'll met that, so.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, give them the 7 days.
Yeah. Nothing else, old business or new business, so that is our agenda. I'm gonna cycle us back, you
Yeah.
gentlemen. Yes,
Chair, if you don't mind, one question to old business for the Herc letter that was supposed to be drafted, requested for information. Do we have an update on that?
that HERC letter went out as we discussed. So it went out, requesting all the information we discussed. It's an inquiry letter. We didn't really have to represent it to vote, as we had settled at last month's meeting. So that went out. We have not gotten a response back. I did text Tiffany Brown, from CAU and have not heard back from her. Oh, and another thing from Borough Board today, we had a presentation from IBO. IBO has requested not as in granular detail as we have, but they have asked for even just borough-wide numbers, and they have been rebuffed. So that's the reality. Anything else, Jason? All right,
You answered the question.
All right, so number C is a request for a letter of support for the renovation of the Taino Towers Community Courtyard Plaza in fiscal year 2025 community project funding request. You go ahead, the gentleman who had written us, this is part of these grants and applications that come out from our congressmen and Congress people and senators. And there's usually a 30-day timeline, a 45, and it doesn't always jive with our calendar. He is currently driving, so he couldn't attach it, so I'm gonna try to dial him in now. And let him just talk to everyone here. And if you remember last year, we had to do this last year at executive to meet that.
That's fine.
Okay. C.
See,
And they didn't go to this one, land use, I guess.
Yeah, it's a capital
No,
improvement.
it's not.
All right, hey, there, I'm gonna put you on speaker with the executive committee. Okay? All right. We have Tony from Taino Towers here. You'll have to speak loudly, Tony. You have the executive committee.
Good.
Well,
Good. Thank you for taking, putting me on the agenda. Appreciate it very much.
so tell us a bit of why you're applying to Congressman Espaillat's grant application and just take us through it real quick.
Okay, so basically, as you know, the Congressman Espaillat, he put out a project, funding opportunity, which Taino Towers is applying for currently. And we are going to propose the revitalization of the plaza, the courtyard at Taino Towers. So as we all know from the community, it's been inoperable for I believe over a decade already. The infrastructure, the waterproofing, that's part of the project that we need to complete, and it's a very extensive project that we're getting into. As you all know, we currently are also undergoing a massive job with Taino Towers in itself, and revitalizing all the piping, the scope of work, the facade work, which we're on completion with the facade. Now we're gonna start getting into the apartments. But part of this project is that plaza work. The integrity, the waterproofing, we will have to excavate everything, do abatements. So it, again, is a costly project. So with this grant, it would aid us in funding the renovation of the plaza, the redesign of the plaza. So that's our hopes for us to accomplish with the help of this grant. So with that said, part of the grant asked for support letters. So I went ahead and I said, who can I ask support letters from? And obviously I said Community Board 11, which is part of the community here in East Harlem, for Taino Towers. You know Taino Towers, you know the history, you know the family days, the community events we've held there. So we would like to move towards getting back to that. So that's why I'm requesting for the community board to support us in this initiative. That's basically my ask.
Okay, when is the deadline for this?
This is tomorrow.
And that's the deadline for the congressman's application process, right?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And I know that we had Felix, Leo Campos come to, Echo Dev, and only got notice of it last week, so the application period is a very short window. Any other questions from the board?
How much is it?
How much are you, hoping to request in the application?
I need a clarification on that. I'll be putting those numbers in tomorrow from accounting. So, this is a huge project. There's over a $20 million job. So, anything will help to get to that magic number on our end. So, but I'll get a specific amount from upper management, sometime tomorrow before I submit.
So just to be clear, it's generally, you just want a letter of support for the application, but it's whatever will be awarded from the congressman's office or going through that process.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing?
they're not gonna give us the complete amount, so it's gonna be up to the congressman's, discretion, how much they allocate, because I believe, he's allocating up to 15 different organizations for this funding. So, yeah, so it's gonna be up to their discretion, how much they allocate to which organization if selected.
Okay, okay. Any other questions from the committee members?
When was this process open?
Look.
I think I received the notification probably about a week and a half ago.
He's a builder.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason has his.
I just don't know where they don't know how much.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in. I just got two brief questions from land use. So yeah, I'm very familiar with Taino Towers, excellent developer within the district. A lot of our people are living there. So I have no concerns necessarily with, supporting, obviously funding that services the constituents within our district and such a partner. That being said, my two brief questions, one asks, and really a question is, just moving forward, maybe we could get some more project updates from you at the land use committee, quarterly, just having some of this discussion. And then secondary to that, which again, I'm familiar with, but maybe it's good for you to speak to the board towards is the local hiring participation of Taino.
Sorry,
The local hiring.
Jason Villanueva was talking about the local hiring, that would be in getting updates. And once this project,
on local hiring,
yeah, when the project takes off.
so that has always been a priority at Taino Towers, and nothing should change. As an example, currently right now, with the construction company that we have there, if you come and take a look, and just give a quick walk around, we actually do a lot of certifications with the programming within Taino Towers that does OSHA trainings and such, in the construction area. And if you look clearly, a lot of those workers are from Taino Towers and the surrounding community. Just this past summer, I think about 20 applicants came through Strive, came through Operation Equivalency, came through Youth Action, Youth Build with their training projects. They came through Taino Towers, and they were directly hired by these construction companies. And mind you, these folks from the community have been starting at $25 an hour. We have one specific gentleman that he's making over $100,000, and he, you know, that speaks to the hiring within the community. Like that's always been a priority at Taino Towers. And I think, and that's common knowledge, from what I know. So at any time you guys come and visit, and I'll have my doors open.
Okay, thank you. Any
Yeah,
other
so
questions?
Chair, that was to my point, right? This developer has been supporting the district, providing job opportunities to the district, is housing members within the district. So I'm in full support. Again, I'll continue to push with them to start providing quarterly updates to land use.
Okay, great. And my only comment with this is to make sure that the congressman's office is making sure they inform when they release these applications that they put our calendar on there and saying, you gotta get to the board's agenda right away. Even though they only think give us like 30 or maybe 40 days or something. Go on.
Well, yeah, we're in that same boat because, we're in the same boat, but, you know, at least we're fortunate to be on time to put in for this application,
Yeah,
so. It was a.
Tony, hold on, I got another question. Yes, Jess?
I agree that this is, you know, worthwhile, application and it's unfortunate that it's not going through our process. I think it's unlikely we're gonna change the way that Congress people do their own process. So I think just for the future, because I think we have had other organizations come to us and we've said, no, we can't provide a letter of support because it is too quick of a turnaround. It doesn't give us the opportunity to do our due diligence. It doesn't give us the opportunity to analyze how much funding we're saying we should grant to one organization versus, you know, 15 others that we might be considering for this as well. So I think we just need to come up with a community board process for when there are emergency situations like this, that like, if it's an organization that we have worked with in the community board before, then, you know, it sways to the yes. If it's not, then it sways to the no. And, you know, what sort of concessions we're willing to make when it comes to this and have it be a standardized process, because otherwise it's gonna come out like we're saying yes to some people and no to others, and I just wanna be cognizant.
Just for a brief history, since we've been having these with executive, it's mainly because of the congressman's calendar of what their application, I think it's 30 plus days, but it's less than 45.
What a terrible process.
No disagreement on terrible process, but it'll, you know, last year, and I think previous years, we have pivoted, so that was the exception in that case. Just so we maintain, but I agree, there's a way we can work with to set out the emergency process to streamline it, and then get that disseminated, be very, very helpful, for everyone. So go ahead, Adam.
Well, I agree with everything Jessica said. At the same time, we can't hold it against this applicant, we've been running the process, but what I am a little concerned about, and I'm for everything, you know, I'm not against the project, I'm against us having to vote on things without all the information. I would really find it very helpful if they could tell us what they're asking for, how much, and why you come to a meeting tonight asking for a letter to give you money and not have the answer about how much money you're asking for. Not how much are you getting, how much are you asking for? I just don't understand why we'd be expected to write a letter for that very purpose without having a number.
Any other comments?
That one is above my pay grade. I was asked to.
I hear you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I hear you. And I'm not blaming you specifically, but we have a long history of people coming in with less information saying it's above their pay grade. And because we continue to allow that, that's why we continue to have people giving us that answer. But that's not saying you, it's just one of many examples of this happening.
Okay, yes, Jose?
This is a yearly, how often does the Congress?
Every year he does this.
So it's not really a surprise.
No,
right? So we can't also say that it's not like, oh, you know, like, so.
But where it falls on the calendar of his release.
But they should
And
be
our
prepared
calendar.
to give us, because I do agree with them, not having a number of, like, I know Tower, the community, I love it, everything Jason said was factual, true. They do hire from the community, but I can't also disregard, like, I agree with them, like, not having a number of what we're approving is kind of crazy for such a project, right? Is it 1 million, is it $500,000, is it $1,000, is it 10, is it 20 million? They're talking about a 20 million project, right? It's a huge.
Well,
Hold on, Giselle, did Felix Leo Campos put in a specific amount with this request? He did? Okay, okay, all right,
That's what the deficit.
so do they, okay, go on, Tony.
yeah, if I may, so this project is in the excess of $20 million, right? Or the complete workup of that plaza work, with the designing, all nuts and bolts. So if it's $20 million, most likely I would put on that application $20 million. Now, we all know they're not gonna give me $20 million. It's gonna be up to the discretion. So if you want a number, I'll give you that number ahead of time, which I mean, it only makes sense to me that we're gonna put the full amount. $20 million is not in that budget. I think it's probably around 60 million. So we put that in. If they have 15 people that they have to disperse these monies to however many organizations, we're gonna ask for the top amount. Just to be clear and transparent, we all know that money is not gonna be all given to one organization for a project, because we have to come up with our own money to complete the project. We're just simply asking for assistance in this project, Taino Towers. Now, it's up to your discretion if you guys want to support this initiative, which you all know that plaza in Taino Towers serves as a hub to the entire community. The community of East Harlem, Spanish Harlem is shrinking. Taino's is a staple there. So to bring back all those things that we all remember and continue, we want it to continue happening. That's where I'm coming from, and I could speak to on behalf of Taino Towers as a whole when it comes to that specific monies that we asking for the plaza, for the children to play back in the playground, for us to have our events, for all the political figures when those times come that they get there up on stage and they meet the constituents that they serve, that they want to serve. We all know everything that goes there. The family days, the residents, they put up their tents. They have their day. We have the kids back to school with the giveaways. We all know what goes on there. So it's not a mystery to anyone what that.
Okay, I got another question. Tony, I got another question. Rosa?
No, I just want to know, like, it's a letter of support. We're not putting out of our own pockets or anything like that. I feel comfortable with giving the letter of support.
Okay, all right. Are you making a motion?
I am making the motion to support,
The
a
applicant.
letter of support for renovation of the Taino Towers with the excess of $20 million.
Okay, so let me restate that. So you're making a motion to provide a letter of support for the application, to the congressman's, office for $1 million as presented here. Is there a second? Is there a second? Shall I second it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. Okay.
Any abstentions? Me. Done. Jason, Nilsa, I didn't hear you. Jason?
Aye.
Oh, never mind, you're excused. Nilsa? Nilsa is not. Someone has their hand raised. Who has their hand raised?
That's Azure. Okay, give me 1 second on the promoter. Promote.
Okay, so the motion carries.
I'm sorry, this is Nilsa. I was having difficulties. I abstain Because I'm not comfortable with, the lack of explanation and the guessing on the money.
All right, so 2 abstentions, 1 no, the motion carries.
I was trying to say yes.
Okay, yes, all right, okay.
We gotta feel more comfortable about saying no instead of abstaining.
Well,
Yes, yeah,
Abstention means you don't have all the info,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? And we
it could
didn't
be.
have all the info.
So yes, Angel,
Well, I was just gonna say, like, so going forward, as to the comments that were made about these requests coming in, like, you know, very late. So just doing a quick search, and it seems like, not it seems, the deadline for this kind of funding, on, Senator Gillibrand's website it was April 5th. And the email from Espaillat that was sent out last week, which is probably what Tony was referring to, spoke about an extension to April 19th. So we could, you know, given that it's early April, you know, create a, you know, a standard that these kinds of requests may be coming in for, you know, for April, so that they have to come in to us, you know, before our full board in March. Right, so it comes to executive every year, and be heard here at executive in March and ratified at full board in March in advance of that deadline. And then anything that comes in after that, we'll entertain.
all right, Tony,
Works for me.
all right, thank you, we will, get the letter out.
If you could send me like a blank, if he
Could
has a
you,
letter.
could you say that again?
If he could send me, like, if he has a letter to send, it makes it quicker for me to turn it back around.
Yeah, if you have a letter that we can send, like the kind of pre-drafted language and get it to us ASAP, then we can turn that around, Angel,
So they couldn't.
okay?
Could you just, text me the email you need me to send it to?
Yes, I'll send that to you, it's the same one that yeah, I'll do that in just a moment, okay?
So you let Tony know that when I should be coming to us February or March?
Yeah, so Tony, it would be helpful next year if you go through this process. When they release these requests and applications usually it's about March or late March. That as soon as it is, we need to have you get on the agenda ASAP, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
What-
thank you. Have a good weekend.
Oh, hold on, Jason Villanueva?
Yeah, it's not for him, it's just for the executive. I agree wholeheartedly with Angel. This again was another process that used to be monitored by SDN to engage the community in these aspirations. And I would think that same concern would apply to like the city discretionary funding that happens in the later part of the year.
Okay. Thank you. All right. The one item with the request for board funding from East Harlem Law Day, we were working on sponsoring, and is Jason Wu on by chance? No? Okay, so what we may do is table this. He was just asking, since we're sponsoring East Harlem Law Day, June 1st, if we could support with providing, you know, food, funds for food. He didn't know he had to fill out a form, and so we could table this to the next executive. Because it would most likely pull from funds here, and then maybe we can find out what an estimate cost would be for, say, using Lexington Pizza Parlay, but what we've done with, Perfect, right? Yeah, so we can get an estimate of what that would look like and to present, so we'll table that until next month. And, so next on the agenda is our process and hearing on board member attendance for 2023-2024 meeting session. We're gonna go into executive session, which means that the meeting for the public will be over, and when we come back and adjourn that executive session, that will be roll call and adjournment of our meeting this evening. Does everyone understand? Okay, very good. All right, so with that, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Motion.
Second?
Okay.
Yes, okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We're now going into executive session, standby.
I think you.
Okay, the committee voted to initiate removal proceedings for Crane Causer. It's carried with 1 no. Now move along. We have any old business? Jason Villanueva, did you have old business or is that an old hand?
No, it was just $1 million comment to everyone else. How much is 2/3 of your meetings?
It depends on how many meetings there are. So 4, you missed 4, you missed over a third.
I promise you, Chair, that question wasn't for me. I know an answer. It's just something to think about as we doing this culture shock. That's it. It was a recommendation.
Thank you. Any new business? Okay, call the roll.
Jose?
Here.
Madam? Rosa? Jessica?
Here.
Zal? Nelson? Asher?
Here.
Xavier?
Good night.
Isaac?
Yes.
We
I'm here, Angel. That's Nelson, in case you didn't hear me.
got you, yep.
Right now, I will
We
take
have
the-
quorum to end.
Good night.
All right.
Really good.
I told him.
I'm gonna take, can I take this pen?
And I
Yes.
I called him, I called him on the phone, and he was
Take
right.
pen, I know, right?
Okay, I'll come leave now, so he didn't. Yes, I got it.
But it's okay, I'll get it.